Nothing in this podcast or on our website should be construed as medical advice. Consult your healthcare provider for your individual nutritional and medical needs. The information presented is based on our research and is strictly that of the author and not necessarily those of any professional group or other individual.
Hi, I'm Sue Becker from Bread Beckers. Welcome to Sue's Healthy Minutes. I'm so excited you've joined me today, and I hope this episode encourages you and allows you to find the answers you have been praying for the health of you and your family. Today on Sue's Healthy Minutes, it is time once again for another It's the Bread story. I hope these stories bless and encourage you as much as they do me. My guest today is Erika Knott. Her story is absolutely amazing. It's a wart story, a morning sickness story, and an all-over better health story, all rolled into one beautiful testimony. Erika shared some of her real bread experience on social media, so we reached out and asked her to email me. I was amazed as I read how bread had benefited her family in just a matter of a few months, really. I know everyone listening will be equally amazed. So let's just jump right in. Erika, welcome to Sue's Healthy Minutes. I'm so glad you are my guest today. I know you're a very busy wife and mother, but why don't you begin by just sharing a little more about yourself and where you're from?
All right. Well, I am a stay-at-home wife and homeschooling mom of 5 with baby number 6 due on April 3rd, and I live in Northeast Maryland.
All right. Up there, you getting some nice cold weather?
We are, and it's been pretty windy this winter, too, which makes it feel even colder.
Yes, that's what we've been getting to. And we actually just have melting ice and snow here. We don't get a lot of snow in Georgia, but we just had a little brief storm of it over the weekend. So, yeah. Anyway, I just love to hear how people discover, if you will, bread Beckers and real bread. Your real bread journey actually began in April of 2024 and came as an answer, I think, to your 7-year-old son Andy's prayer. Tell us this story and what happened there.
Yes, so he started getting warts around age 3, and of course now he's 7. And at first it was just like 1, and then it was kind of slow, but they kept popping up until he had almost around 20. All over his body, most on his hands, but some around his knees. And then he also had some like skin tags that popped up as well. One of them was on his eyelid. And he didn't really say much to me about it bothering him. I think he was more bothered with all my treatments.
Yeah.
So when his Sunday school teacher came to me and said that Andy requested prayer about his warts, then it kind of made me think, oh, it must really bother him. So
yeah. But your Sunday school teacher, or his Sunday school teacher, is who mentioned the bread to you, right?
Yes. And she hadn't started milling at the time, but someone had shared one of your wart stories with her, and then she passed it along to me. And I was familiar. I'd heard of people milling their own grain before, but I had never heard it connected with warts.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that was April of 2024. So Did you jump right in, or did someone make bread for you, or what? How did you start? And what did you find Bread Beckers and some of the podcasts and teaching?
Yes, so Andy's Sunday school teacher shared one of the wart podcast with me, and then I just dove into the other podcast episodes and also listened to your Staff of Life presentation.
Yes.
And everything in that just resonated with me, and how I know that God made good food for us, healing food, and so that really struck a note with me. So I got a mill and started making my own bread, which it was a learning curve, definitely at first. I was used to making bread with traditional store-bought flour, and so I had a little bit of a time getting like the kneading and the texture down, but we started making some bread, and I wasn't doing a whole lot. He wasn't getting a lot of servings in a day, but I did think that I saw a little bit of change with the appearance of the warts, but they did not go away as soon as I hoped.
Yeah. So you started in April, right,
Yes.
of 2024, but you did notice that his skin tag went away, right?
Yes, the skin tags went away pretty quickly, and he
That-
had one that was on his eyelid, which was pretty annoying, and that was the first to go away. So I was definitely pleased
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. So you just kind of progressed along. We'll get to what happened in the interim in just a minute, but I thought we'd finish with Andy's story.
Okay.
One of the most frequently asked questions I hear is, how much bread do I need to eat to see results? So you kind of thought, well, I think you heard a podcast or something about eating more bread. And so you had started out with just one serving a day for Andy, but you didn't see the results. Then you upped it, right?
Yes, and that was probably the fall of this year when I said, okay, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we're going to have something, something fresh milled.
Yes. And now what's
And
the
now
result?
I kind of slacked off on checking, and I decided on New Year's Day, I said, you know what, let me look at his hands, since his hands were the worst, and I could not find one wart. And
Wow.
so I just started checking, and he was up to about 20, and they were
Of warts
all
on the
gone.
skin.
Yes.
All gone. And maybe just what, when you upped it in say September, October, so November, December, by January, so just a couple of months,
Yes.
20 warts that he had now for 4 years.
Yes.
And they had spread, gone in just a matter of months.
Right.
I just love hearing stories like this. And I know we as mothers are concerned about our children and how we can help with their health issues, but it just really touches a special place in my heart when I hear the cry of a child that wants to see healing, has asked for prayer. And God answers that prayer in a very mysterious way, didn't he? An
Right.
unexpected way. And I know that some people like to say these wart stories are strictly anecdotal, but I understand the science behind it. And I'm also not going to argue with the hundreds of wart stories that I have now heard. Just can't argue with somebody's testimony. But the truth is that vitamin E is a critical antioxidant that protects the integrity of the cell membrane of every cell in our body. And I've learned through my studies over the years that a lack of vitamin E can cause our cell membranes to be compromised and therefore more susceptible to a viral invasion, such as a virus that causes warts. The warts persist and spread as the virus continues to use our weakened cells to reproduce. And here's what I learned. Wheat is one of the richest food sources of vitamin E, but the flour must be freshly milled as the wheat can quickly oxidize after milling. Vitamin E is also found in the oils of most grains, nuts, and seeds, but not one unit of vitamin E remains in oils that are chemically extracted, packaged cereals, or refined flour, and not one unit is added back to enriched flour products. Over the years of my studies, I've learned and read many respected health professionals throughout the 1900s have attributed the loss of vitamin E in the diet and the numerous related health issues from this loss to the refining of wheat flour that was introduced in the early 1900s that sifted away both the nutrient-rich bran and the vitamin E-rich germ. This loss has greatly diminished our food supply of vitamin E and the multitude of other nutrients found in whole grains. I'm going to just suggest to hear more wart stories, and maybe even the one you heard, Erika, and a more thorough scientific explanation of the role of vitamin E in warts. Check out Wart Stories. That's right, Wart Stories, way back on episode number 5 of Sue's Healthy Minutes. You'll be absolutely amazed and as convinced as I am that vitamin E and the many nutrients provided in freshly milled flour are absolutely critical to good health. So, all right, Erika, now I want to hear about your pregnancy journey with Real Bread. A few months into Real Bread, you found out you were pregnant with your 6th child, and it came at a kind of fairly stressful time for you and your family. Tell us about that and how this pregnancy has been different.
Yes, so I bought my green mill in April, and that summer we listed our home, and we're planning to move on August 20th. And about 3 weeks before that move, I found out that baby number 6 was on the way. And this move was pretty big for us because we were moving away from everything that me and my husband had known for our married life, and moving to a brand new area to us into a home that needed a lot of renovations. So I immediately prayed and said, Lord, you are going to have to help me through this and give me strength, because I don't know how in the world I'm going to do this move and help with renovations, given my past history is typically I'm throwing up from the moment I test positive to about 16 weeks along.
Yeah.
And of course, I've tried everything, and I've prayed each time that the Lord would deliver me. But for this time, I had absolutely no morning sickness. I even retested because I thought surely maybe something was wrong with the test, or I just didn't have any symptoms at all. And, it came back positive still.
Yeah.
And during the move, I had stopped milling for about a month just because of the renovations, and we were without some kitchen appliances for a while. And, just 5 children and
an upheaval life in kitchen.
Yes.
I'm sure baking and like, where's my pans? I know they're packed somewhere. Yes,
we slept for about a month on our living room floor while we were doing the bedrooms, getting those ready first. So that was definitely a trying time, but thankfully I was feeling good. I didn't have fatigue, which usually goes right along with the sickness. But I noticed toward around 9 or 10 weeks of pregnancy, I started getting some nausea back. And at that point, I hadn't connected it with milling, my good health
and making bread.
The milling. But when the nausea started coming back around 9 or 10 weeks along, I thought, now, isn't that strange that I went for that period of time with having absolutely no symptoms? And so I started thinking about what I was doing differently. And I thought, I haven't been milling. I haven't been making my fresh bread. And so I jumped back in, and the nausea went back away. And I've been feeling really great ever since.
That is amazing. What a wonderful testimony. I mean, when you've had 5 the way, and it's always been that way, it's kind of difficult for now baby number 6. Totally different to not attribute it to the bread and I wonder if it's the extra B vitamins that are in your whole grains, and then the gut organisms that produce those B vitamins from the fiber that's undigested. Because I know a critical B vitamin in helping with the pregnancy sickness is vitamin B6.
Right.
And some
that
of the
was
other
my
Bs.
thought, because I was trying to, think what nutrients would cause that. And of course, I've tried B supplements before. I've also heard that magnesium can help with morning sickness, and I've tried that. Those supplements with no effect, but I know it's always better to get it from a fresh source.
Yeah, from a food source or natural source. Yeah, that's amazing. That is, and the energy too. That I noticed that because we started milling after I had 5 children, kind of like you, and I was into it probably not quite a year when I got pregnant with our 6th child. And that was by far the easiest pregnancy and delivery that I had. And then my 7th as well. And I've often attributed it to, I call it pregnancy before bread and pregnancy after bread. It was noticeably different. So congratulations on baby number 6. You know that it's a boy, David Gabriel, due to arrive in April of this year. So what a blessing. What a blessing. And, I've got to say, when I read your email, it was so funny. I have never heard of anyone actually tracking the number of times their family gets sick in a year. I thought that was so funny to pinpoint causes and what might help improve your health. But what an incredible idea. Because I've got some thoughts on that I'll probably share in another podcast. But I think that you did that. I think that's brilliant. Such a proactive part in your family's health to go, okay, wait a minute. We were sick. What have we done different? And you mentioned that it was normal for your family to have 6 to 8 colds in a year.
Yes.
And though that seemed high to you, it was comparable to other families in your church. And I know from experience that a large family can, when you get sick, you just seem to go from sickness to sickness as it gets passed around. About the time you get over it, someone's brought in something new for y'all to enjoy. And that was your experience as well, right?
Right. That was how it was happening. By the time it cycled through everyone, then it seemed like we'd start all over again. And it was typically from like September to April.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard. Is I'm working on a podcast right now, doing some research on cold and flu season, and it's typically from those October to about February, March. But I mean, of course, it can last longer than that, especially in colder weather. But so you started your bread journey in April of 2024, headed into cold and flu season.
Right.
And what was the difference?
We had one cold go through our family in the end of August, which was the time period I had stopped milling, and we were doing renovations, so a lot of dust and paint and stuff in the air.
Yeah.
But since then, we have not had one cold.
That's amazing. So you went from 6 to 8 colds during cold and flu season, if you want to call it that, to one cold. And you attributed that to stress. You had quit making bread, just a lot of things, I'm sure. The paint fumes in the air, the dust in the air. Yeah, and probably not eating quite as well and getting quite as much rest as usual. But that's amazing to me. I know some families, they just live, well, even like you said, live from cold to cold to cold to cold, or earache, or just something, not feeling well, snotty noses.
Yes, it was never anything serious, just, stuffy nose, a pesky cough, or sore throat. Yeah. Just annoying to have it go, from month to month. And
what an amazing story of one cold, from 6 to 8 down to 1 in just April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. So basically maybe 8 or 9 months that you've been milling your grain and making your bread.
Right.
What an amazing God we have that has provided us with food to nourish us and heal us. And I love the saying, it's not only nutritious, but it is very delicious. And you know what I thought of this morning as I was reading back through your story? I cannot help but think of the promise we have from God in Exodus 23:25. It is conditional, and it states, "You shall serve only the Lord your God, and I will bless your bread, and I will bless your water, and I will take sickness from the midst of you." That just amazes me every time I read that and think about that, and hear stories like yours that are just such a broad spectrum of health benefits. It just amazes me.
Yes, and like I said, we had tried some of the supplements. We had tried vitamin E before I jumped in to have the big purchase of a grain mill. I thought, well, let me try the vitamin E supplements first for Andy's warts, and that just didn't do anything. And I tried other natural remedies for his warts, essential oils, and even a strange one was bee venom.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Someone had
I hadn't heard that one.
It smelled terrible. It didn't sting or anything like you would expect, but it smelled horrible, and it didn't work. And we tried the freeze treatments and acid treatments, and nothing helped it till the bread, something as simple as bread.
Yeah. Well, and the problem with a lot of those external treatments is you're just getting rid of the wart. You're not dealing with the virus that's internal. And I'm just sitting here listening to you, and I'm just thinking warts. I think of the scripture that God works all things together for our good to those who love him and are called according to his purpose. And God used warts to bring the bread into your home, but look what else. You had an easier no sickness pregnancy going on.
Yes.
The health of your family has changed drastically. So, man, sometimes he uses some interesting ways to get us to where he wants us to be. So, and what he wants to give us as a gift. So I'm so thankful that you shared your It's the Bread story with me and now with all of our listeners. And just want to thank you for sharing how real bread made from freshly milled flour has changed your health and the health of your family. You know, before we wrap things up, I want to give you the opportunity. Are there any final words of encouragement or anything you want to say that you want to leave with our listeners today?
I was thinking of something last night. I was doing some cooking and I had a jar of honey sitting out. And one of my children ran up and said, "Pleasant words are as a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and health to the bones." Proverbs 16:24.
Oh my goodness.
They know that when they come up and say that verse to me, I'll give them a little spoonful of honey.
Oh my goodness.
And
that is wonderful.
It just made me think about having a pleasant outlook and pleasant attitude. And I was reading an article recently that was studying the health of someone who ate very healthy, but they had a lot of bitterness and stress, and their health was terrible. And the point was made that you can eat as healthy as possible, but if you have bitterness or unresolved conflict, stress, it cancels out what's being put into your body. And I just thought that was so interesting how this scientific article backed up what scripture says in Proverbs 17:22, "A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit dries the bones."
Yes. And even the scripture your children quoted, pleasant words are like honeycomb. They're healing to the body. And I think it goes on strength to the bones or something.
Yes, health to the bones.
Yeah, that's amazing. And of course, the verse as you're sharing this, I'm just thinking of life and death is in the power of the tongue.
Yes.
And God spoke, and the whole world came into existence. Everything we see, and our words are powerful, and we were created in His image. So, what an incredible encouraging word to leave with our listeners today, that it's not just about eating healthy, but it's about speaking healthy words and life. Speak life.
Yes.
Choose this day who you're going to serve. Speak life. Choose life. And that's a great word. I just love it. And it sounds like, Mama, you're teaching your kids God's word and valuable life lessons, and I just love the practical application that you're exhibiting to them. So I just want to thank you. Thank you for that word. It ministered to me, and I think will minister to our listeners as well. And I have done a podcast on bitterness and unforgiveness. My own cancer story talks about that, but you can hear that on, I don't know what the number is, but it's not by bread alone. But just want to thank you again for taking the time out of your busy day of being a wife, a homeschooling mom, and a faithful, I think, overseer of those that God has put in your life. Again, congratulations on your baby to be born, your newest blessing. And I just want to thank you for sharing. Thank you, everyone, for listening today. Be blessed and encouraged. Pleasant words are indeed like honeycomb. Until next time, this is Sue Becker from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minutes.
Sue's Healthy Minutes podcast has been a presentation by the Bread Beckers Incorporated, located in Woodstock, Georgia. For more information, store hours, and learning opportunities, visit breadbeckers.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast and never miss an episode. Share this with 2 friends who would benefit from this information, and be sure to join us again next week for more of Sue's Healthy Minutes.